Hey booktube friends, it's Carrie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the 3 books that I read this week. 2 were physical books and 1 was an audiobook. And the first one I want to talk about was probably my favorite, and it was the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. Now, the author describes this book as if he pit Dracula against his mother. And I'll go with that description. This was a very quirky, funny, supernatural thriller, and I really enjoyed it. I would recommend that you listen to this as an audiobook because I thought the narration was very well done. You will hear some over-the-top accents, and the dialogue among the book club members was very realistic, and I found myself wanting to be part of this book club. Our main character who narrates the book is Patricia, and she has given up her career as a nurse to support her husband, who is a well-known psychiatrist in the community. And we also see her friends Mary Ellen, Grace, Slick, and Kitty. The book club ensemble was not hard to keep up with. I mean, usually I have a hard time when there are a ton of characters to keep track of, but the author does a great job with that, and there are some very distinct personalities. We also have one who is an outsider. She's a Yankee transplant, and so we see that in the book as well. These book club ladies get together, they vent about their life, they help each other, they support each other, they drink a lot of wine, and they read true crime books. And the fact that this book club focuses on true crime really set the stage for Patricia to become very suspicious when an outsider moves into the neighborhood named James. He's, kind of tall, dark, and handsome, very well-mannered. He's even well-read. You can't really nail down a lot of facts about his history. And so Patricia becomes extremely suspicious of him when there are some events in the community that take place that are disturbing. She sets her eyes on James. You also see a little bit of kind of sexual tension between James and Patricia because Patricia is kind of a frustrated housewife. Her husband is absolutely an infuriating character to me. He takes Patty for granted and he talks down to her, and I just did not care for his character from the get-go. We also have the stage set for some gaslighting that takes place, which is another reason why I hated the husband character, Carter. Now, this book takes place in the 1980s and 1990s, and based on their circumstances in the time period, there is some misogyny that takes place. So that's a bit disturbing when it comes to the husband-wife relationships in this book. The dialogue among the book club members was funny, it was relatable, it was realistic, and I found myself enjoying that part just as much, if not more, than the supernatural horror part of this book. There are some descriptions of some horrific events in here that were very well done to the point that I was gagging, or I could almost smell what he was talking about. So I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it. The second book that I read this week was The Beauty That Remains by Ashley Woodfolk. And in this book, we follow 3 characters, Autumn, Shay, and Logan. And all 3 of these characters have recently lost a loved one. Autumn has lost her very best friend to a horrific car accident. Shay has lost her twin sister to a long battle with leukemia. And Logan has lost his ex-boyfriend under suspicious circumstances. We're not sure if it was suicide or if there was some sort of foul play involved. All 3 of these characters are connected somehow to the band Unraveling Lovely, which was kind of a popular teenage band on the local scene. And so we do have that common thread of music throughout the book. The cast of characters in this book was very diverse in terms of ethnicity and sexual orientation, and At first, I was a little bit turned off by that because a lot of young adult novels seem to be working on some sort of checklist where they're going down to make sure that, kind of all the bases are covered, so to speak. And usually that doesn't bode well for character development, and it doesn't really do a service to anyone that it's trying to represent. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good book. So at first I was like, oh, here we go again. But the characters in this book were actually very fleshed out, and by the end of the book, it didn't seem like these characters were paper cutouts of people, and I think it would appeal to lots of different readers. Something else that would appeal to young adult readers is that interspersed throughout the book, they have little snapshots of social media posts. So Instagram posts from Autumn's best friend who died, music reviews from Shay's sister, who was really involved in their website and blog, and emails and descriptions of YouTube videos, because one of the deceased is actually a YouTube star. And so we see these young people struggling with grief, and they are leaning on a lot of those social media posts that have been left behind by their loved ones. I feel like this would definitely appeal to young people because that is the primary way that they communicate and that they socialize now. And so I thought that element was a neat addition to the book. The third book that I read this week was Flygirl by Sherri L. Smith, and this is a young adult historical fiction book. We follow our main character, Ida Mae Jones, who is from Louisiana. She is a young black girl who learned to fly from her father. Her father was a strawberry farmer, but he also did crop dusting to kind of supplement their income. We see Ida Mae saving money to try to go to Chicago to get her pilot's license. But after the attack on Pearl Harbor, Ida's brother volunteers for military service, and Ida feels this compulsion not only to fly, which she loves to do, but also to serve her country. And she's tired of just rationing sugar and collecting rubber and nylon stockings to support the war effort. She feels like she can do something more substantial. Not that those things aren't important, but she knows that she has this skill that could be put to good use. And so she secretly applies to become a WASP, which is one of the Women's Air Force Service pilots. And of course, these women pilots freed up the male pilots for the war effort by ferrying aircraft and doing test flights and things like that. And so Ida Mae puts her hat in the ring. This is a very multi-dimensional story because we're not only dealing with the fact that just being a WASP and being a woman in a man's army is, very challenging, but we're also dealing with Ida Mae having to pass as a white woman in order to even be accepted into the WASP. And one thing that the author brings out at the end is that there is evidence that there were Chinese women and a few Latino women who were in the WASP, but there is really no evidence that there were any black women in the WASP program. Now, of course, if Ida Mae could pass as a white woman, then we don't know. Maybe there were some young women who were able to do that and never revealed their racial origins. It was extremely well done. I would definitely recommend it. So that's what I read this week. I hope you guys are having a great reading week, and I wanted to mention I just joined Instagram, so you can find me there, Very Literary Carrie, so I should be easy to find. I haven't posted anything yet, but I'll probably post some pictures of books at some point. I did join because I'm supposed to be doing some buddy reads here soon, and apparently that's a platform that's used for some chat or messenger function, so I should be at some point active on there. But I hope everyone's having a great week, and I will see you in the next video.